Dear listeners, we have had several requests over the last few weeks from some of you insisting that we should respond to Ozzy's selective attacks. Although he insists that our chapters are misleading and misinforming people, as well as being as a waste of time, nonetheless, he has spent a lot of time and made a lot of effort in attempting to cast doubt about our sources and our veracity. We all know Muhammad's maxim, war is deception. Hence, anticipating Ozzy's fervent attention to our series, we prepared an intellectual and veracity ambush. We put up two chapters in sequence, 174 and 175. In 174, we made a great number of references and embedded a deliberate and obvious error. In chapter 175, on the other hand, we made only a few references and awaited the foregone outcome. Ozzy has not failed us, as we shall demonstrate. Let me address the more important chapter 174, Muhammad and Satan. From the very outset of his attack, Ozzy said, and I quote, "I am not going to respond wholly because from minute 4 to 9:30 he just reels off hadiths to illustrate whatever points. Blah, blah, blah." Hence, according to Ozzy, I was referencing hadiths for 5 whole minutes. We deliberately made the effort of selecting hadiths from Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, and Abu Dawood, as well as from different narrators, so that we should not be called biased as to sources. But our Ozzy, as you know, ignored every single one of them. So much for his version of objectivity and honesty. You are the same condescending Ozzy who demands references from us while attacking our chapter 175 for lack of references. Ozzy, please make up your mind. Moreover, Ozzy, you ignored all of the earlier verses that I quoted because you could not find fault with any of them, and hence went for our trap in Al-Kahf 18.63. You tell our listeners that you cannot waste time on liars such as ourselves, but somehow you come back to us again and again. Furthermore, you very conveniently ignore the fact that this story does not exist in the original and only source, the Bible, and hence is one of Muhammad's concocted lies. I did not quote the whole verse because it is totally irrelevant to what Allah says or does not say, since Allah, who abrogates his earlier revelations in 71 out of 114 chapters, is not omniscient and hence cannot be God, because he is actually Muhammad's mouthpiece. Moreover, nothing changes the fact that Satan is being accused instead of Muhammad. Ozzy, you always deny the veracity of any and all hadiths that reflect badly upon Muhammad or his Quran, but allow any and all hadiths from exactly the same sources as valid if they do not. As a full-time Muhammadan apologist and a newly converted believer, you have become more Muhammadan than Muhammad. You cavalierly deny any and all records in Muhammadan Islam that we have referenced in our chapters regarding the satanic verses. Any of our listeners can easily find out that the satanic verses did exist and are documented by many of the most prominent scholars of Islam nearest to the events. Ozzy, I assert again that there is not a single mention in the Bible of Satan deceiving any of the Hebrew prophets, including Jesus, but succeeded brilliantly and easily with Muhammad, the alleged greatest of all prophets. Ozzy, Satan is mentioned in the Hebrew Bible in the context of a human adversary to humans, and not as a supernatural one who disobeys God. Most relevant of all, Ozzy, why did you not address any of the hadiths that are recited based on several and different sources, but tell us instead that it is what Muhammadan Muslims believe in and dismiss all of them out of hand? Is it because they are such imbecile stories that would make any thinking person cringe? Ozzy, you are wrong once more, since in the religion of the Jews, Satan is the evil within mankind, and not a creature that disobeys God. Any one of you can check this instantly. Why do you find it offensive when we address Muhammadan Muslim issues based entirely upon the Arabic language and records, but find nothing offensive or revolting in the Quran that insults, denigrates, and attacks every other belief system on earth? Ozzy, your hypocrisy is so obscene, it is unbelievable. Of course I favor the West. That is why you are in the West, able to use its freedoms to disseminate your cult disease. Can you imagine a Christian or a Hindu living in Arabia saying anything like you do and remaining alive 1 minute later? How is it ridiculous an argument when the Quran is misrepresenting the very original and only versions in the Bible and call yourself intelligent? Ozzy, please explain to our listeners how it is possible, if Allah is the same as the God of Moses and Jesus, gives 2 or 3 different versions of the same story to his prophets? Ozzy, you had such a grin on your face when you told our viewers that I said that Satan is not mentioned in the Bible. Will you now efface the stupid grin, since you have lied in public, as the statement I made was, Satan is never mentioned in the Torah? Being the usual ignorant follower of Muhammad, the Torah is not the Bible, and as always, I am very correct. Like a true Muhammadan, in every one of your videos you declared victory where none was actually achieved. Muhammad used to do exactly the same. Like father, like son. On the linguistic level, which is my Arabic mother tongue and not yours, Allah was the name of the supreme rock god of the Kaaba, like Jove of the Romans. Jews and Christians were forced by Mohammedans in the 9th century to write Allah instead of God. You go and look up the references that we had given. Ozzy, why don't you listen to chapter 43 about Muhammad and forgetfulness? The sources that I quote are all there. Maybe you will be lucky to find an error. Now I shall address what you thought is your trump card, but is actually the joker. We deliberately embedded the name Moses so that our ambush can be fulfilled. I shall now recite all the relevant verses and show our listeners how truthful you are. 18.60. Behold, Moses said to his attendant, I will not give up until I reach the junction of the 2 seas, or until I spend years and years in travel. But when they reached the junction, they forgot about their fish, which took its course through the sea straight as in a tunnel. Ozzy, the verse says, they forgot. That is, both Moses and his attendant. Why? Because Satan made them forget. When they had passed on some distance, Moses said to his attendant, bring us our early meal. Truly we have suffered much fatigue at this stage of our journey. He replied, sawest thou what happened when we betook ourselves to the rock? I did indeed forget about the fish. None but Satan made me forget to tell you about it. It took its course through the sea in a marvelous way. You really are the pits, Ozzy, because we deliberately and obviously added the name of Moses so that our trap can be achieved. You ridiculed me for embedding the name of Moses, but you ignored the fact that the translator of the Quran embedded the following words that are not in the original Arabic of the Quran. Until in 60, about and straight in 61, some distance and stage off in 62, what happened, about and you in 63. Not one alteration, but 11. Thank you for your honesty and objectivity. You see, Ozzy, I do not have to deceive or mislead anyone because I have all the ammunition I need in the very Arabic sources of Muhammad and Islam. Ladies and gentlemen, as you have found out by now, ignorance, fear, terror, joylessness, and stupidity are the fertile grounds and foundations of the Muhammadan Muslim state, as well as their state of mind. Ozzy is a pathological liar and intellectual charlatan in the same mold as his mentor Muhammad or his allies such as Zakir Naik or Ahmad Didat. Let Ozzy give us all a single independent eyewitness account from the pagan Arabs, the Christian Arabs, or the Judaized Arabs regarding anything that Muhammad and his followers assert as truthful in the Ahadith. He cannot. Let Ozzy show us a single verse in the Quran that represents a new intellectual, judicial, and spiritual concept, precept, thought, or idea among the 6,236 verses of the Quran that is original and not plagiarized, plundered, pirated, and or perverted from the scriptures, traditions, or fetishes of the Christians, pagan Arabs, Jews, Zoroastrians, and others. At least one. Again, he cannot. Ladies and gentlemen, please be aware that there are on the web 2 superb sites that boggle the mind of the viewer or reader. www.memory, memri.com, which has an archive of over 2,000 live videos about Muhammad and Islam from all over the world that will teach you visually more than many books that you can read. The other is Zakaria Putros, www.islam-christianity.net, an Egyptian Copt who knows more about the Quran than any Mohammedan on planet Earth. Ozzy, you belong to the most vile, intellectually and morally challenged and evil belief system the world has ever known. Our series are fundamental to enlightening the 80% of humanity, the kuffar, so-called, your innocent and ignorant would-be victims.